The long-awaited Update 5 finally released, and as expected, the GPO player count skyrocketed to over 100,000 players. There is no debating the fact that this update has definitely brought back a lot of players to the game, and potentially some new players as well. However, with the game going free in less than a week, it is likely that this is just the beginning. I'm saying all this to illustrate the context of which Update 5 was released, as it could be argued that this update is one of the most important in GPO's history because it is the update where GPO makes the monumental shift to going free to play. Furthermore, its quality will be integral in maintaining old players during the upcoming flood of new players. So how was the update received by the player base? In my limited interactions with other players, I have seen wildly differing opinions on the update. For some, Update 5 was a boring grind fest full of near impossible challenges and overly rare items and events. On the other hand, a lot of people were impressed by the sheer amount of fruits and items added, not to mention the new bosses and in particular Moria's boss design. And you may be wondering, how can both sides have such differing perspectives on the update when fundamentally we are all playing the same game and going through the same content? Well, in my opinion, it is because of the polarizing nature of the update. You see, quite a lot of new systems and ideas were incorporated into the game in this update, and because of their novelty, a lot of people don't quite know how to feel about them yet. A great example of this is the Observation Hacky version 2 challenge. Now, I have seen so many people complaining, crying at what they say is an impossible challenge. And this just isn't the case for all players though. Many players, including myself, found the challenge relatively easy and certainly not impossible. So why the high level of polarization? It's new. A lot of players haven't seen something like this before, and many are intimidated by its difficulty, whereas other players who are familiar with such systems found it to be an appropriate challenge. The Osu-like minigame wasn't the only new change added in this update though, and Grand Prix Online's first world boss, Soul King Brook, was also implemented in Update 5. Now, most players, to my knowledge, loved the idea of a world boss, but in practice, they didn't like Brook. I mean, a lot of people feel the incredibly low spawn rates of only 6 times from Friday to Sunday a week are crazy. It also alienates a lot of players who don't have the freedom or aren't willing to change their schedules to fit a very specific time bracket. And many have proposed a solution of increasing the spawn rate to every day of the week and changing the spawn times to perhaps something more reasonable, like once every 4 hours. In order to keep the weekend factor though, an increased chance of the Soul King Rockstar spawning could be implemented during this period. I've also heard that the boss itself is too weak, but I have not had the chance to fight him myself, so I can't really comment on that. A lot of balancing changes have also met mixed reception. A lot of fruits and fighting styles received fundamental changes that will definitely manifest in arena mode and PvP. Notable changes include a lot of more moves block breaking, such as Hiei Ice Stomp, Zushi Gravity Dominance, and Fishman Karate, Shark, Serpent. If those actual impactful changes weren't enough to cause you to develop an opinion, a lot of core visuals in the game have been changed too. A day-night cycle has been reintroduced, Goro and Magu have new models, and across the board, sounds have been replaced and changed and edited. So it is all these changes combined that have led to the update being met with such mixed reactions from the player base. Now, I'm sure some of you are wondering, what are my personal thoughts on the update? As a long-time commentator on the game, I try to approach things from a balanced perspective. But as some of you know, I'm also capable of having quite strong opinions on GPO and GPO's updates. Let me preface my opinion with a disclaimer that I have only played around 6 hours of the update. For that reason, my opinions on the weapons and fruits added will be limited. I will make more thorough reviews on those individual items and fruits later, but for now, I just want to voice my general thoughts. First off, I actually like a lot of the quality of life changes and a better inventory organization system, a cool new multi-log pose, changes to ship spawning, new private server trade hubs and commands are all at face value awesome additions to the game that will hopefully make things a lot easier for a lot of players and particularly YouTubers and event organizers. Obviously, it's not a final solution, but it's a step in the right direction. I also happen to be a fan of the new water, the new day-night cycle, and other visual changes. Thriller Bark is an interesting island, but but it is a little bit too dark at times. I really wish there was better lighting in the boss rooms, or if the new lamp item had a larger area of illumination. The bosses themselves are okay. I mean, good boss fights consist of a lot of low gear users spamming their moves. I don't mind this too much, but it is frustrating when other players in the party aren't familiar with the bookshelf method, so it becomes hard to actually land sustained ultimates. And the bookshelf method itself is a funny method discovered by players. It's a kind of like a funny cheese method, but it does remind me a little bit of the barrel method from like such a long time ago, which is a little bit nostalgic. But overall, the Moria boss looks cool, and that's about it. That's really about all the bosses have to offer. The actual boss fight is much the same as most other bosses in GPO. It's a lot of spamming moves and hoping for the best. I could go on a long rant about how this is too easy and incentivizes mindless, boring grinding, but at this point, I've come to realize that within GPO, this style of boss fight is something that is here to stay. Besides, I don't have a reference for an alternative style of boss fight that would work within the confines of GPO's world, so for now, I will settle by reviewing those 3 boss fights with an unenthusiastic, they're okay. The drop rates on all the good drops are also really low, which is a little bit demotivating, and once you hit max level, it can feel a bit unrewarding after the 10th or even 20th Moria kill with no drops. I suppose this is necessary to preserve rarity, so I won't complain too much. The weapon drops themselves do look really cool, and from the showcases that I've seen, they look pretty unique too. For example, the gauntlets are unique in that they scale off of strength rather than sword, and this will make them a perfect fit for fighting style users such as blackleg users. And Shisui is interesting too, but it is a little bit of a letdown that it cannot be used in combination with one sword style. That's kind of something that I wish it could be used with, but it is what it is. A lot of the other item drops, such as armors and clothing, are somewhat intriguing. They mostly all look really good and have great stat bonuses, and some of my favorites are Ryuma's scarf and Moria's top hat. The abundance of new items will also be great for in-game cosplayers who want to play as their favorite character from One Piece. And talking about cosplaying as characters in game, the 4 new fruit can also aid in that effort. All things considered, the new fruits look great and mostly seem to be useful in PvP. On top of this, they also have some fairly unique mechanics. In particular, Yomi's revive and skedaddle move are of interest to me. I think they're kind of an interesting mechanic and a funny mechanic to there, so that's pretty cool. Other moves such as pause, rendezvous are also unique in their own way. Again, take what I say on that front with a grain of salt. I haven't actually used any of them yet, so my knowledge to source from is not that significant or deep. Equally, I really can't say too much about the balances. I'm relatively out of the loop in terms of PvP, and I haven't had a chance to really see these changes in action, so to predict any sort of huge game-breaking consequences would be naive on my part, so I won't try and do that. Another significant addition that I'm sure you're eagerly waiting to hear my thoughts on is the new All-Seeing Eye item. A tradable replacement for Delph Notifier, this new item has quickly become one of, if not the most valuable item in the game, being priced at an eye-watering $200 or so. It is not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. Being tradable too, it also comes with the added dimension of being an incredibly valuable trade prospect for players who do not or cannot afford the aforementioned price tag. And like I said, it's basically a Delph Notifier. That's pretty much all you need to know about it. However, it does also give the user 2 times permanent low gear rates, and this makes it a gigantic advantage for any player. I personally do not have the problem with it because sure, it could be considered pay to win, but there are plenty of other ways to get fruits in game, so it's definitely not a must have, nor is it particularly worth the price in my opinion. I certainly would not pay $200 for this. Besides, it will likely be here to stay for the foreseeable future because just imagine the outrage if devs dared to remove it after people had sunk so much money into trying to acquire it and its pre-established perks. Now, I've been talking a lot, so I'll wrap this up soon. Let's finish by discussing the new ship that was added and the new Delph Journal item. So the new Delph Journal item isn't particularly groundbreaking, but it's a simple, nice addition. And the frilled ship looks cool, but I really don't know anything about it, so I can't really talk too much about that. Okay, we've made it to the end of the video, and I hope you found some value in my review. If anything else, perhaps you enjoyed listening to it in the background while grinding GPO or just playing games. As always, I'm always trying to promote an open and constructive dialogue in the GPO community, so please feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below. Furthermore, I hope you guys have a great day, evening, whatever time it is for you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.